It seems like I'm visiting VMware a lot lately, but this is a company on fire that you can't get a parking spot here, but they've been buying things like SlideRocket and Mosey. I want to understand what they're doing, plus they have something to announce today. So we're here at VMware to understand the new way of working. Who are you?
So I'm Noah Wasmer. I've been at VMware for about 4 years. I've previously worked in VMware View, which is our remote desktop technology that we've been working on. But about 18 months ago, I was able to start on an effort called Project Horizon, which was really to look at the next ways people are computing. You know, that we're seeing all these iPads and tablets coming into the enterprise. We're also seeing a lot of SaaS adoption. So I was asked to do an initiative in advanced development to really look at the next generation of computing.
Yeah, and this interview could almost be split into two parts. One, we're going to hear about your news announcement, and two, I want to understand what VMware's strategy is. What's going on here, because there's something going on.
Yeah,
but let's hear about the news first.
It's a really it's an exciting company to be at right now. So we're today releasing Horizon App Manager, and it's our first release really of the vision of Project Horizon that we talked about last year at VMworld. And really focused on how do we help companies really start to embrace, the cloud, right? Specifically, cloud applications, right? Yeah. That we're seeing, again, Salesforce and Trovix and SuccessFactors and Box.net really coming into the enterprise. And administrators are saying, how do I secure this? How do I control them? How do I really help bridge what the directory services I have on-premise today into the cloud? And so that's our announcement. We're really excited about this effort. It's something that we've been working on for quite a while. And so we're glad to get this baby out.
Yeah, and tell me what it is that would show up on a user screen like at Rackspace if we turn this on.
Yeah, so the first thing, there's really there's two components. First is really for administrators is a very simple tool that says, hey, we're going to synchronize your existing users and groups from your on-prem directory services into the cloud and basically allow you to keep all your security and passwords behind the firewall, but now be able to add app entitlement in the cloud. So you can say, hey, we've got Scoble and Rocky and a bunch of other folks from Rackspace, and we're going to entitle them to all your different apps, whether that's Chatter or Salesforce or all these different apps that are coming in. And we just do a simple click, click, click as an administrator, and we can automatically then provision accounts into those different services.
Now, is this coming out today, or is this shipping in a month?
This is coming out today. We're live. There's a website that you can go to. You can go to VMware.com to find out more, and it'll take you to the different websites that give you a lot more detail about the service.
And what is it called?
It's called Horizon Application Manager, so Horizon App Manager.
Now, on your screen, I saw a bunch of different apps from SlideRocket to Twitter. Mm-hmm. And some of them, you click on it, and it signed you in automatically. So did you put all your passwords, or did your administrator put all your passwords? How does it do that?
So great question. So the first step is that there's a lot of enterprise apps, Salesforce and Google, that are big, well-established cloud applications. And they've gone ahead and created standards-based authentication, either using SAML or OAuth or other mechanisms. And what we've done is really built the connectors to do a secure assertion into those apps, which means that you're using your enterprise credentials, and we're testing against back to see is that still a valid user in AD, and then we really change that into a SAML assertion into the app. So it just seamlessly gets you in and really gives you the end user this single sign-on experience, right? So that you don't have to remember 29 different passwords anymore, just one password.
Now, enterprises are probably not quite into this world yet. We're pretty early adopters of SlideRocket and Salesforce Chatter and stuff like that. But there's a lot of companies out there still using a lot of Visual Basic apps and apps that were built 10, 15 years ago. Can I put those into this management tool as well?
So this first release is focused specifically on cloud applications, and this could be web-based applications that are in the cloud today. The third-party SaaS applications. What we talked about at VMworld last year was really this as a foundational management layer, and that's what we're excited to release, because now we have this platform out there where we can add the additional functionality like managing thin apps, managing different legacy Windows applications, and really bridging them completely under the same security model for end users. So they just get the same apps, whether, like you said, they're legacy or next generation.
Yeah. Now, when we start adopting some of these new cloud apps, there's usually a cost involved. You know, there's a free, like Yammer, for instance, and Salesforce Chatter. But let's say Yammer. Yammer came in the back door, right? It was the employees who started using it because we heard about it at TechCrunch or wherever, and we liked using it with 3 or 4 of our friends, and then it started growing.
Yeah, it's viral, right? It always comes up,
But within a few months, there was 2,000 people on it, without any central approval, without any management. Nobody knew about it. But then the company comes in and goes, oh shoot, there's all these users who are using this service that we didn't approve, and we can't really tell them not to do it because that's sort of going to piss them all off. But now, if we want to take control, we have to pay $5 a user per month. That's sort of like an extortion, right?
Wow, yeah. So, and you're really talking to a really, part of the big problem is that end users are now used to this freedom and flexibility of getting what they want on demand, and the flip side of IT saying, how do I control this? How do I manage this in a unique way? And the challenge is we think, really solved through what we call kind of self-service application catalog. Then this allows us to give the administrator the ability to say, let's put this inside of the app catalog for the enterprise. You know, they may still have to pay for the service, but then end users can go in and request the app, and it will go through a workflow, and then they'll be entitled to that particular app. And so what we think is that end users still feel like they had that freedom of picking the apps they want when they want it, but it's still largely under enterprise security, you know, ensuring that it's under one password so that when they deactivate a user, it also deactivates access to all those different apps.
Got it. So the control of, because it's not like the outside world where you never leave, you die eventually, but you know, at the enterprises, people get hired and fired and move from group to group. You have to make sure that if I bought a group app for the sales group, that the engineers don't get to see that.
That's right. That's right.
And this lets the enterprise have some sort of management like that, right?
That's right. I think you're really, this growth is just happening out of control, right? We, at VMworld last year, Paul talked about that we had 15 SaaS apps. It's literally now, 6 months later, and we have 29, right? And so
that's just at VMware.
That's just at VMware, right?
Some companies have more than
we've heard some companies in the Fortune 100 literally talk about 400 different SaaS applications, right? We know that's not everybody, right? A lot of the time, a company is saying, hey, we just want to embrace Salesforce, we just want to embrace Workday, and so we think this is a really light, fast way to help federate, you know, your existing structures, your AD, into these cloud services as quick as possible, while still really keeping the security behind the firewall. Right?
On that management grid, where I see the various apps, what does it show me on that grid? Because I know some apps you have to sign in, because like Twitter, I don't want my boss to know my password for Twitter. Right? That's sort of weird.
Yeah.
But it still shows up on that grid, right?
That's right. Yeah, so on the user portal, one of the things that we saw is that once users start using the service, they actually fall in love with it, right? Many of us has sticky notes or some way of trailing all these different passwords. And so once you start using this, you start saying, wow, this is really how I want to work. And so what we've had to do is we've actually had to start taking personal apps and move them into the catalog. Now, so administrators have the ability to say, do I want to bring them in? Do I not want to bring them in? And in fact, with things like LinkedIn or Facebook that are, you know, consumer or personal, it gives the choice where they can actually set up the account, and those user credentials are never seen by the administrator. And that's the benefit, right? That the corporate apps are managed by the corporation, the personal apps are isolated and separated out.
As an administrator, can I put Facebook on there and say this is blocked? You know, so people know this is not acceptable at work?
You know, not in our service, we don't necessarily restrict. I will say, actually, at VMware, like one of the things, like I have a Facebook account that's for VMware Horizon, right? And that's actually controlled by VMware. I want them to have that type of management, and so they actually can bind that, you know, specifically to an enterprise account, so that, you know, they can control that service as well.
Yeah. Also, in the enterprise, some groups might pay for one service, you know, like Yam or whatnot. Other groups might not be included in that deal that they made. Can you put on there that this will cost your group, you know, $5 a month if you want to sign up for it and start using it? Yeah,
you're really talking to about a workflow system, right? So that we have a way of tracking the licenses, how much they cost, and then as they get, you know, as they're requested, you know, we think that a workflow system that says call out to some other system, some workflow process for approval. Once it is approved, you know, that cost is incurred, because you're right, some of these apps aren't cheap, right? Some of them cost quite a bit, and so we want to be giving that visibility to a new cost being incurred.
Yeah. How do you guys get paid out of this? Are you charging like rack space for using this?
So our announcement today is that the pricing is $30 a user a year, and we think that's actually fairly disruptive pricing in the sense that I think that you'll find that this is really fast to set up, really lightweight, and really affordable for companies, all the way from the mid-market on up to really embrace the service. And the traditional legacy IAM vendors, they're very expensive. They take a long time to set up, and we really just want to be a fast, lightweight way of doing this for companies.
What does this compete with? And now we'll switch it a little bit more into what VMware is doing with strategy.
There's a lot of new startups coming up in this space. We just really see cloud applications being the future, right? We see that's where these things are going to be going. VMware has been in the business of really helping companies move from the private cloud into the public cloud, and we think that this is really just an important step infrastructurally for us to really help move them along.
Does Microsoft or Google have anything like this? I mean, Google makes gestures that it wants to be the enterprise work player, but I don't know what it's it has an app store, right, that I can go to, but I don't know if that really competes with this.
So Microsoft has a technology called ADFS, right, that helps them to extend Active Directory, and that's really just simply a component that exposes AD securely to the cloud. They don't really have all the connectors, and that's what we're really building are these different connectors. Google also has done a great job with their Google Apps Marketplace, really creating, supporting standards like OAuth and OAuth 2 and OpenID. Those are also the standards that we embrace. We think that this is actually just has to be done for the goodness of the cloud, right? If we're going to move to this next generation, we've got to have secure identity. We've got to have ways of securely signing on across applications. So we actually hope to work with Microsoft, Google, Salesforce, and others to really promote standards, right? That's got to happen for the good of all of us.
Yeah. If I was an administrator, could I load new things into this grid that you don't even know about?
Yep, absolutely. So there's most applications have, the big applications have SAML or OAuth. We would love to get SaaS ISVs to develop against those standards. But there's also 95% of applications don't have that type of federation capability. So we have a lightweight way of federating, basically by installing credentials into the form, the authentication form, so we can onboard almost any app very quickly. For large enterprises, however, we really want to press on SAML and these open standards for the secure enterprise type of assertion where no password is actually transmitted. That's the best way we think over time.
Yeah. So on the strategy, why did you guys buy SlideRocket and Mozy? It seems like you might be starting to make a cloud menu of your own. Is that true?
I think that when we think about users going across different devices, right? They go from their corporate PC to their home Mac to their iPad. We just think that there's new ways that people are going to start to share and collaborate different pieces of information. At the end of the day, when you think about a knowledge worker or a information worker, presentations are what you kind of do, right? You roll up information, and so we start to think that this is SlideRocket, as an example, is a great tool that helps you to collaborate across different users, helps you to carry your content across these different devices. We also think that there's some unique plays here around how to really take advantage of the ergonomics of the device, right? It's not always easy to, if you remote a desktop, for example, it's not always easy to use it on a touchscreen device. And SlideRocket really has taken into account some of these different ergonomics that we think are going to be important over time.
Is there a version of Horizon for all the different devices that we're using in enterprise? So
today it's a browser-based launching portal. So we have done some work to make sure the style sheets and other things render for the different form factors, right? But stay tuned. I think there's a lot more to come there in terms of having specific applications for these different devices.
Yeah, because we're just rolling out Salesforce Chatter at Rackspace, and finding the Air app and the iPad app and the iPhone app is sort of difficult. And then we have lots of people who aren't even on Apple devices or on Blackberries or who are on other kinds of Windows Phone 7
There's
devices.
a lot of devices right now, aren't there?
Oh,
yeah.
So finding all those clients is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Then that's just for one app. And you know companies who have 400 different apps.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we think there's always got to be this zero-day browser access, right? Just because we never know what's going to come onto the market. But we do think, iOS, for example, is getting just huge traction in the enterprise. Android is growing. And there's a lot of need for us to start to make really native, clever apps that take account of these ergonomics. So I think you'll see us doing a lot more. We're doing that today for View, and we'll really expand that capability for Horizon App Manager. We have thought a lot about in the app catalog having this quick request new app, right? And that a user could just say that this is the app they want, get the administrator to onboard it, and then be able to deploy it across the enterprise. So that is something we're looking at as a future release.
Cool. And is there any other VMware apps in here, like virtual managers for some Windows machines or stuff like that? Or is that going to appear here?
So one of the things about the service is that it is a hosted service, and we're looking at monthly release cadence, right? So what we're excited to do is, talk to you on a more frequent basis about new features coming into the platform, other types of applications being managed, and we just couldn't be more excited about Horizon App Manager, out today.
Very cool. And is there any kind of consultant I'd have to hire to put this in place, or is it just turnkey? I pay the money and everybody's up and running?
Well, we'd love to, make sure that you get your hands on and see it yourself, right? Our design goal was to make this so simple, right? That you're used to SaaS applications that you don't really have to learn them. They're fairly intuitive, and that's how we wanted to make this whole service, right? On the we have this component called the Enterprise Connector, where it helps you federate to AD. Even there, we try to be very simple, very clean, and make sure that almost anybody could do it, just because that's what we think is the appropriate step.
Is there any last things that you want to tell me about what VMware is doing or what the Horizon App Manager does?
So, I think overall that Horizon App Manager today is something that's going to really be a foundation for us to build a lot of entitlement, device, and user management across these different platforms, really across a different holistic set of applications. And we really we're seeing a lot of demand around cloud apps and how to manage them. So, we think that this is something that we need to get out in the market. We're excited about how this really becomes an underpinning for our tools like Zembra and SlideRocket and Mosey that are now part of the family.
Very cool. And you guys want me to go to VMware.com to learn more about it?
That's correct, VMware.com, and we hope you'll try it yourself.
Very cool. Are you on Facebook and Twitter as
I
well?
am. So I'm Noah SW on Twitter, and in Wasmer on LinkedIn, so you can find me in all kinds of different places. VMware Horizon on Facebook, so you can find us all over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's great to have you.